Kipnis blips one over the left field. Down the line it goes. Coming around third, Bourne will score the tying run. Aviles into third with the go-ahead run. Kipnis with an RBI double. There's a breaking ball, right field, low, makes the running catch. Here comes Aviles. Here's a throw to the plate, not in time. Aviles scores the go-ahead run. Big chopper, first base, Reynolds, the flip. Pastano's got it, and the game is over. The Indians even the series with a thrilling 4-3 win as Vinny Pastano nails down his second save in dramatic fashion. Another beautiful night in downtown Cleveland as the Indians take on the Kansas City Royals in the finale of their three-game series here tonight. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. The rubber game. Kansas City won the first one. The Indians came from behind to win last night. And now they've got Justin Masterson on the hill. He's their ace, but pitching in a rubber game for the first time this year.
Well, and pitching has been a premium this week on this homestand. Justin Masterson going to go out there and hopefully throw a gem. He was roughed up earlier this year against the Kansas City Royals, but he's got to come up, step up big, and hopefully he can do it. He's 5-1 at home this year, a nice ERA, and he's pitching 6 innings in every start but one. He will be matched up against Luis Mendoza. Last year, 3-1 against the Tribe in his career. All 3 wins coming last year.
And Luis Mendoza this year, Rick, only has 2 wins, but both of those wins have come on the road, including his last time out when he beat the Rays down in St. Petersburg, Florida. Stick around. All the play-by-play action is straight ahead as Justin Masterson and the Tribe Bats try to rally back and take 2 of 3 from Kansas City in this pivotal Central Division series. We're coming back with the action next. Welcome into Progressive Field, where the Indians look to move above the 500 mark with a win tonight and take 2 of 3 from Kansas City in the process. They've got Justin Masterson on the hill looking for his 9th win of the year. Let's take a look at the starting lineup he will face for Ned Yost's Kansas City Royals. Alex Gordon will lead it off. Eric Hosmer batting second, then Salvador Perez will hit third. Billy Butler in the cleanup spot, followed by Lorenzo Cain. David Lowe, who has 7 hits in his last 22 at-bats. The Akron area native hitting 6th, and Mike Moustakas 7th, Elliot Johnson 8th, and Alcides Escobar will bat 9th.
Justin Masterson on the mound. Start number 16 for Justin, looking for win number 9. He came off a no decision in his last start against Washington. A good ball game, 7 innings. He struck out 10, only gave up 2 hits and 1 run, and that was the walk-off ground ball that Kipnis hit, the fielder's choice. So he was roughed up earlier in the year by Kansas City, 6 1/3 innings, 9 hits and 7 runs, and in his career 4 and 6. So trying to win the series here tonight. So looking for a good start from Justin.
Ned Yost, his ball club, felt like they had one in the bag last night, and they let it get away when the Indians scored 3 in the bottom of the 8th and then held off a late Kansas City rally in the 9th to win it. Terry Francona said after last night's ball game, we did everything but lose it.
Well, the way their bullpen has been pitching, you're right. I mean, 3 runs off that pen is something very good.
Justin Masterson facing Alex Gordon. And there's a strike, 2-1 to count.
For the 3rd straight day, Matt, we have that wind blowing straight in.
Yeah. It's
Same
definitely going to make it tough to hit him out. He calls it inside, and it's 3-1 as you take a look at the conditions. 66 degrees at game time, and that's a good, easily 20, 25 mile an hour breeze blowing straight in. Gordon a swing and a miss and a full count. Hitless in the series, 0 for 7. He has walked 3 times, but Gordon is struggling so far in the month of June. He was the Royals Player of the Month in May. But so far here in June, he's hit just 167. Very similar to the Indians' Michael Brantley. Michael's so good in April and in May, but he's had a rough go of it here in June. Gordon can certainly understand.
Well,
and you know, it's interesting. I'm just thinking, we saw Katie Witham talking to George Brett before the game, the last man to truly challenge the 400 mark.
Right.
That Ted Williams accomplished in 1941. That just tells you once more how difficult that feat is, because you can't have a bad month.
No, you can't have a bad week.
Jason Kipnis throws out Alex Gordon, 1 away.
Let's check the Kia Indians defense behind Masterson this evening. It'll be Brantley in left, Bourne in center, Stubbs in right, Chisenhall at third, Aviles at short, Kipnis is at second, Reynolds at first with Santana behind the plate.
Alan Porter will call the balls and strikes tonight. Mike Estabrook is at first. Greg Gibson, the acting crew chief, at second. Hunter Wendelstedt down at third. Hosmer swinging a foul ball. He is 1 for 9 in the series. Takes a little bit up and away, 1-1. Hosmer 5 hits in his last 25 at bats. As he pops one foul out of play.
Masterson this year has pitched 6 innings in all of his starts but 1. That one coming back April 17th. You remember against Boston where he bobbed and weaved, and he still did a great job to pitch 5 innings in that ball game. But we were saying that the last 2 nights about the Royal starters.
Right.
They go deep into the game. It was Shields. It was Santana. You know, and that gives your team an opportunity to win, and you're keeping your team in a ball game.
Line to left, and that will fall in for a base hit. Hosmer aboard with 1 out here in inning number 1. Let's get a look right now at today's keys to the game. For the Indians, Justin Masterson hoping the ace can pitch them to a series win. And the clutch hit. So important for both of these clubs. These are 2 teams that have done well hitting in the clutch.
Yeah, with 2 outs, absolutely. And you said this is his first opportunity for the rubber game of a series for Justin. That's hard to believe, isn't it?
Well, the Indians haven't played in a whole lot of them. They're 4-1. So this is just their 6th rubber game that they've played in, but Justin has not had an opportunity to pitch in any of those to this point. And this year in particular, Rick, with the new schedule, with the unbalanced number of teams in each league, 15 and 15, you've got, or I should say odd number of teams. Runner goes up and in with the pitch. The throw down by Santana, not in time.
Well, he had a good walking lead, and Justin didn't make him stop, so it was tough for Santana to throw on that one. I mean, Hosmer not a base throw, but look at him. He never really stopped him, and the pitch was up and in. Santana did hit the best he could to get it down there, and it wasn't a bad throw at all. But Hosmer goes in head first. He will get the stolen base. That's number 6 for him this year. Kansas City now tied with the Indians as second in the league with 52 stolen bases.
Tell you what, Jason Kipnis came very close to tagging Hosmer on the hip.
If he was back a little closer to the bag, he might have got him. It was close.
3-1 count for Salvador Perez. Well, that's ball 4. So a hit and a walk for Kansas City. Here in the first inning, they've got 2 on with 1 out for Billy Butler. Billy Butler, just 1 for 6 in the series, but that 1 hit, a double. Billy Butler, one of those guys who every year seems to be among the league leaders in doubles.
Yeah, he had, 2 years ago, 51, 52 doubles.
And it seemed like last year maybe
he went more power,
trying to hit more home runs. And again, referencing Katie's interview earlier tonight with George Brett, you know, he said, I don't believe if you try to hit home runs, you'll succeed. You know, I believe go up with a plan and hit the ball hard, and then you'll see the results. Then you'll see home runs by just trying to hit the ball hard somewhere.
Well, and that's what we call a quality at bat. If you go up there and your home runs come from good at bats. And when you hit a line drive, actually home runs come from when you miss hitting a line drive by not even a quarter of an inch, and you get under the ball and it carries. But when you try and hit them high and far, you don't succeed. Your swing gets a little bit longer.
Butler, tough out, fouls it off. Butler is hitting .310 so far in the month of June.
Well, Justin would love to get a ground ball and a double play here. He is fighting his way through this first inning.
Back out of play. Yeah, what makes Butler a good hitter is that he will, with 2 strikes given, and he'll take the pitch the other way. He'll put it in play.
He uses the whole field. He has been a good hitter from day one since coming to the big leagues.
Masterson with the 0-2 count, delivers. Swung on and missed. He got him with what looked like a nasty slider.
Well, let's check this pitch out on our Nissan pitch tracker. And it is a nasty slider. He expands his zone. See, Butler started after that pitch wanting to try and go that way, but that's the pitch that Justin Masterson has really had control of this year, and that's why his strikeouts are going up. It's because of that slider.
Well, he's got 2 down now with 2 men on base. And Lorenzo Cain stepping in. We mentioned before the Indians and the Royals, 2 of the best teams in the big leagues with runners in scoring position and 2 outs. Only the Cardinals are better than the Indians and the Royals. Tribe hitting .297 in these situations. The Royals right behind them at .284.
How about St. Louis? What do they hit?
.334.
That's
the
outrageous.
Cardinals.
That is
insane.
outrageous.
It's also why the Cardinals are running away with the NL Central. Well, not so much running away, but a 45-26 record. Just very impressive. But give Cincinnati and Pittsburgh credit. They won't go away.
Well, those
2.5 and 3 back respectively.
Yeah, those three teams in that division. It's about pitching, too. You look at those teams, they all have high number of strikeouts as well as a pitching staff. That's going to be a dogfight all the way.
It's a 3-team race, that's for certain. The NL West has 4 teams, the top 4 teams all within 2 games of each other. The 1-2. Check the swing. Did he go? He did! And the inning is over. What a job by Justin Masterson. 2 on, 1 out. He punches out Butler, then Kane. Now the Indians are coming to bat. Going out of the bottom of the first here at Progressive Field, and the Indians starting lineup brought to you by Progressive, making it easy to bundle your home and car insurance. Michael Bourne leading it off, followed by Mike Aviles. Jason Kipnis batting third. Carlos Santana riding a 10-game hitting streak will hit cleanup. Michael Brantley fifth, Mark Reynolds sixth, then Jason Giambi, Lonnie Chisenhall, and Drew Stubbs.
Luis Mendoza makes his 12th start this year, his 5th in his career against the Indians. He's 2-3 and a 4.08, but those numbers are a little deceiving. In his last 8 starts, his ERA is 2.93, like a lot of those starters for the Royals. Their ERA is the best in the American League. He's been much better away from Kauffman Stadium. He's 2-1 with a 2.84 in his 7-game, 6 starts.
Michael Bourne takes a first pitch strike. Bourne is in 3 straight games. And the count quickly 0-2.
Mendoza coming off a win at Tampa, where he went 6 innings and 7 hits. And he does have that big curveball, if you remember.
Bourne grounds one towards second base, and Elliott Johnson throws him out 1 away.
Let's check that Royals defense behind Mendoza tonight. In the outfield, it's going to be Gordon in left, Kane in center, Lowe is in right. Moustakas at third, Escobar at short, Johnson is at second, Hosmer at first with Perez behind the plate.
Here's Mike Aviles. He's hit in back-to-back ball games against his former club. Takes a strike. Mike 3 for 8 in the series.
Go foul.
It will.
It wanted to stay fair. When you hit it off the end of the bat like that, it has a lot of spin to it. And Aviles checking the cupped end of his bat to make sure everything's in check. But that ball had a lot of spin to it, and it trickles foul. That's like a little pool ball that you miss hit, and it goes off the rail.
Mendoza, the 0-2 pitch. And Aviles sends one high in the air to left. Backpedaling is Gordon.
Not today.
He'll make the catch, 2 down. Let's go back to yesterday for our great clip of the game. Jason Kipnis goes down and away, bloops one toward left. It's a fair ball, and that tied the ball game as the Indians would eventually rally for 3 runs in the bottom of the 8th to take a 4-3 lead and hold on for the win. Great clips. It's going to be great.
That was the pitch Kipnis took 2 times before for called strikes that he disagreed with, but that late in that ball game, he took a swing at it and he got a double, got a base hit, made an adjustment.
He was last week's American League Player of the Week with his teammate Corey Kluber. And there's a big reason why. Hit over 400 in the last 8 games. Carlos Santana would be next. 2-1 the count here in the bottom of the first inning. Mendoza's overall numbers aren't as impressive as, say, his teammates James Shields and Irvin Santana of last night when you look at that ERA, but his manager Ned Yost said, hey, this guy's been a big part of our pitching success here of late, too. He's been pitching much better.
They're feeding off each other.
Yeah, we've seen it here.
Yeah, I mean, starting pitchers, that's what happens. You get a couple guys pitching well in that rotation, everybody starts feeding off each other. As a matter of fact, the starters for Kansas City in the month of June, they're 6-2 with a 2.05 ERA.
2.05.
And this guy sets the pace or the tempo because he wants everybody to go 7 innings, 6 innings, 7 innings, and go as deep into the game as you can. And even though it hasn't translated into wins, it certainly has taken over as far as the staff goes, and it's made their bullpen better.
Right. Their starters don't have the wins to show for it, but the team is winning games. And, George Brett said, he's come on as the hitting coach. The offense hasn't taken off, but they're winning games because of their pitching, and they're very good defensively. They have played well defensively during their run to get back into the race.
And the thing, what happens is when you get solid pitching and consistent pitching like that, when you get a key hit in the middle part of the ballgame and take the lead, that's when that bullpen takes over and starts slamming the door, and that's when you win. And then they say, hey, you got some clutch hitting too, because you get the hit at the right time. That bullpen holds it.
Carlos Santana takes aim against Mendoza. Big bouncer to first. Hosmer has it, and the inning is over. No score after 1. by McDonald's, now introducing 3 exciting new Quarter Pounders. And by Kia. Second inning here at the ballpark. David Lowe, Mike Moustakas, Elliott Johnson due up for Kansas City. David Lowe was involved in a key play in last night's ball game for Kansas City. It was in the 9th inning. On the base hit to right field, Lowe came screaming around third, had his head down and didn't pick up his third base coach, Eddie Rodriguez, until late. Rodriguez had the stop sign on, and then Lowe just sort of froze and was eventually caught in a rundown. And that was a huge out in the game for the Indians. Let's go downstairs now. Join Katie Witham, who has more on Justin Masterson.
Well, Matt, coming into the game, Justin Masterson boasted a 1.18 whip, but he also led the league with 41 walks. Mickey Callaway told me he can do that because he has a 2.49 strikeout to walk ratio, and he's not pitching around them, he's pitching through them, which we saw in the first inning. But not only is he inducing groundouts, Matt, but he's limiting hits, and his defense has come up with 10 double plays when he's on the mound.
Well, I think it's important for any pitcher. You know, a walk can be no big thing unless you let it become a big thing. And if that walk suddenly becomes, what's going on? Have I lost my command? Have I lost my release point? And the next thing, that leads to another walk, or that leads to a ball right down the middle of the plate. That's when walks tend to do, good pitchers, guys who have the confidence going, hey, I'll walk the guy. It's okay. Let's go attack the next guy.
Well, there's some guys you don't want to really throw them good strikes in certain situations, but this guy Masterson's always been one of the better ground ball pitchers, especially when he keeps that velocity between 88 and 91, because it moves so much and it's tough to center on. So he will get a lot of ground ball double plays. But he doesn't give up very many hits. He's given up 82 hits now in 103 and 2/3 innings. So 66% ground ball ratio for Masterson.
Well, I'll see how aggressively Ned Yost plays things. We've seen a lot of managers against Masterson get runners started, put them in motion because you want to try to stay out of the double play.
Well, especially down at this part of your lineup sometimes.
Pretty good looking pitch. Call the ball. It's 2-0. And on the ground, what a diving stop by Reynolds. He goes to second. There's one. And that's all they get as Aviles hangs on. He says, I'll take the out. That's 2 down in the inning. And that was a terrific diving stop by Mark Reynolds.
It sure was. He came inside with it and he pulled it. And I thought Reynolds was just going to get up and step on first. But instead, he goes to second base. This is going to be our McDonald's. I'm loving it. And I love that throw he made right there. He got it to Aviles in plenty of time, and the runner was on the outside, and he could make that throw because he was on the infield grass. So he had a clear pathway, but that's still a really nice play by Reynolds. So you get the lead runner. That's out number 2.
We've seen him make some very quality plays, whether it's been at first base or third base with the glove. His only problems this year defensively have been occasionally, at third base with the throws. A couple of times you get uncork a bad throw, but
that happens to everybody.
Think about that game in Houston. He made the game-saving stop defensively. Close play at first on a good dive back by Johnson.
Will he win a Gold Glove at third? No. Will he win one at first? No. But he has made some really nice plays.
What's the old joke? Hit 40 home runs, that'll win you a Gold Glove. 1-0 pitch. It's over the outside corner. The year we had David Segui, who was fantastic defensively. Now, that's going back. What was that, 2000? I think it was 2000.
Right.
He was unbelievable defensively at first base. Didn't win the Gold Glove. They gave it to Rafael Palmeiro at Texas, and I think he played less than 30, 40 games at first base that year.
tap foul, but.
Okay, here's where you want to watch Johnson at first base.
He's
got
been
two
itching.
strikes.
Yep.
Well, you got 2 strikes on Escobar, 2 outs. And this guy, I mean, he doesn't like taking a pitch anyway, but if you know, he can lead the inning off, and Johnson's has stolen 10 and yet to be caught. And so is this guy at the plate. So they will send him with 2 strikes and 2 outs.
Close at first, very close. They almost had him.
They know the same thing in that Indians dugout. I remember when Ned Yost took over his first year there. How aggressive was that team?
Well,
remember 3 years ago?
Bounced in the
Look
hole.
at that.
And that will be a base hit. Johnson will stop at second. Stubbs got to it quickly.
How good is that guy at controlling the bat? That pitch could not have been close to being a strike. And he just took a half swing. And I mean, that ball had to be about 4 or 5 inches outside. Look how late it was.
Yeah.
He just, hey, I'm just going to hit it. I'm not going to try and do anything to it. Just put it in play, and it finds the hole. Keeps the inning going, rolls the lineup over to the top, and it gives Gordon now an opportunity with 2 outs. That's a great job of hitting.
And it makes Masterson throw more pitches. He's closing in on 40. Gordon bounced to second his first time up. This guy, dynamite with 2 outs. He's batting .419 on the year with 2 outs. That's number 1 in all of baseball.
You know, after we played them, now that I'm just remembering this, he was leading off when we first played him down there. And then after we left, they started to move him down to the number 3 hole. I always thought this guy would be a great number 3 hitter. And now he's back in that leadoff spot, probably because he can make things, you know, go, and it makes it easier for other people. If you don't have a true leadoff hitter, I think this guy would still be great in the number 3 hole.
Well, he's in an RBI spot here with 2 down. 1-1 pitch from Masterson. Backs him off the plate, 2-1.
Well, hopefully that show pitch at 95 inside just to get him off the dish. And Gordon, a guy that's off the plate, and he likes to extend his arms, and he can reach that outside corner if you don't think he can. Try and throw one out there, and he'll show you.
Tried to hold up, but he went around, foul tipped into Santana's mitt.
90 miles an hour. That's the movement on that pitch. He tried to hold up and couldn't do it.
The 2-2. Down and in. And a full count.
That's a good pick by Santana. You watch how that body slides right. He's looking for the ball away. So for him to get way over there and make that play, that's well done. He was sitting, and Masterson missed his spot by 3 feet.
The runners will be off on the payoff pitch. There they go, and Gordon hits it high, slicing it foul and out of play. One of the things that George Brett told Katie before the ball game was that he thought his hitters are doing a better job of working the count. Last night they averaged 4.5 pitches per plate appearance against Ubaldo Jimenez, and he said that led to him being out of the game.
Yeah, 5th inning.
And he said, and so far here today, 4.3 pitches per plate appearance, and they're running it up on Masterson.
And the funny thing is, Kansas City's 14th in the league in walks with 175. You know, it's not, you don't have to walk, but you can make the pitcher work.
Inside move, nothing doing.
I mean, I think every offense, as a hitting coach, you strive to get those hitters to make a pitcher work. You don't want to let them have a 10-pitch inning. You know, if they do, then, you know, sometimes that is going to happen. But, yeah, you want to see them with the 20-pitch innings.
Again, the runners go in a 3-2 weekly tap back to the mound. Masterson will toss to first, and the inning is over. Royals strand 2 more. No score, middle of the second. Second inning, and it will be Michael Brantley, Mark Reynolds, Jason Giambi coming up for Cleveland. Brantley trying to turn things around. 0 for his last 12 offensively. Luis Mendoza grew up in Mexico City. His dad worked for an oil company. His mom, I'm not even sure I can say this, she was a hospital biopharmacologist.
Wow, that's pretty good. And you didn't practice that.
Sounds impressive, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
His dad was an amateur player, and Luis was destined for baseball at an early age. He took to the game, and by the age of 15, he was pitching for the Mexico national team. Originally signed by the Boston Red Sox, started his career in the Red Sox farm system in 2002. And then he was traded to Texas and ultimately turned around and dealt to Kansas City in 2010. There's a high pop.
They'll push it out.
Foul and out of play.
Yeah, and you know, last year was his first full year in the big leagues, and about a year ago he went into the starting rotation around June 12th. You know, and in his final 20 starts, he was 6-7, but a 3.83 ERA. And he's pitched well against the Indians, 3-1 last year, and that's what he is in his career. He's got a little sinker, and he goes after you.
Rounded towards second base. Elliott Johnson throws out Brantley, one away.
Well, swing for the fences with the new Home Run Derby mobile game from MLB.com. It's available on iPhone and iPad. Download free today.
You forget sometimes that guys who come from other countries, other cultures, are, there's obviously a language barrier that they have to cross and navigate, and Mendoza certainly handled that with relative ease. He speaks very good English. As this is popped to shallow center where Elliott Johnson is under it, and we've got two down. But you also think about, the foods. Believe it or not, when Mendoza came to the United States, he had never had peanut butter before.
Really?
And he said, I saw that peanut butter and said, what is this? And then peanut butter and jelly, and he said, I fell in love with it. But he said, then I had to learn easy on the peanut butter because you can add a lot of pounds if you're, crushing a lot of PB&Js.
He ought to be on our flights.
I thought that was really interesting, though.
Well, I'm sure a lot of those kids that come over from Dominican Venezuela find a food or two that they've never had before.
What is this?
This tastes very good. Make me very fat.
Mendoza said one of his minor league teammates helped him start ordering food, and one of the things they did was they started calling pizza places and ordering delivery pizza to the apartments that they shared with buddies.
Well, pizza's not the best thing for you either.
No. But as you know, you were there once upon a time. The minor league meal money, got to make it stretch.
More for less. More for less. Yeah. Fast food places, yeah, let's go. Supersize me.
1 ball, 2 strikes, the count on Jason Giambi. A little bit outside, 2-2. Two down, bases empty. We're in the bottom of the second. A 2-ball, 2-strike count. Swung on and missed. Ball gets away. Giambi will head to first, but Perez jumps on it and throws him out. Tribe goes 1, 2, 3, and we are scoreless through 2. No score as we head to the third inning. It will be Eric Hosmer, Salvador Perez, and Billy Butler due up for Kansas City. Hosmer singled his first time up.
That's the one pitch he hasn't had yet to the left-handers, that little breaking ball away. You know, the backdoor breaking ball, but he got it over. Strike one.
Masterson averaging 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. Less than 4 walks
Look out.
per 9.
Boy, oh
So
boy,
far tonight he has walked 1, struck out a pair. Upstairs with it, 2-2. Big chopper to first, but it's going to go foul. Hosmer 2 for 10 in the series. Swung on and missed. Masterson strikes him out, his third K of the night. 1 down here in inning number 3.
Well, they've hit a lot of foul balls off Masterson, but he expands the zone here. This one down out of the zone. He gets Hosmer to chase after it.
Take a look at our Firestone Complete Auto Care Extra Mile Index. And Masterson right there among the league leaders. Yu Darvish well ahead of the pack with 137.
When you look at Masterson, you don't think of him as a strikeout pitcher. You think of him more of a ground ball pitcher. But what separated him is that slider this year.
Yeah.
You know, where he's picked it up and he's been able to he dominates right-handers. And it's made him a very effective pitch for him against lefties. Down and in where they swing and miss. Of course, he made a couple of down and in and one guy hit it. But for the most part, they swing over it when he locates it wherever he wants to.
Got Butler to chase it for a strikeout in the first inning and just the addition of that pitch makes the fastball a little bit better because it gives the hitter one more thing to have to look for or think about.
Well, he used to be, 85%
Yeah.
two-seamers or fastballs, just basically all fastballs. I wish I would see that little, what he calls his
mystery pitch.
Mystery pitch a little bit more. To about 86 miles an hour, like a changeup.
Swung on and
Now,
missed.
he took
Boy,
something off that
he
one.
certainly did. It's almost as though you were piped into his eardrum.
You know, if he could take a little off his breaking ball, a little off his sinker, his 88-mile-an-hour sinker, that as another dimension that he will learn how to add, and that those strikeouts will pile up.
Well, I've heard pitchers in the past talk about the key is add and subtract,
Right.
subtract.
And that's just like another pitch. Even though you're throwing the same pitch, you're just not throwing it as hard.
Drew Stubbs makes the play, and Masterson breezes through
Good inning.
this third inning, and I believe he did it on 9 pitches.
Beautiful.
A reminder as you enjoy a cold one to stay tuned later in the game for Miller Time, brought to you by Miller Lite. For the Tribe here in the bottom of the third, it will be Lonnie Chisenhall, Drew Stubbs, and Michael Bourne. Chisenhall, a hard ground ball off the glove of Hosmer. Johnson is there to grab the ricochet, and he throws him out one away.
That goes 3-4-1, and I give Mendoza credit. He got over there. He wasn't a spectator. Hosmer made a nice diving attempt, but it knocked it over to Johnson at second base. He was heads up, but look at Mendoza hustling, getting off the mound, beats Chisenhall over there and takes a base hit away from him. That's a heads-up play all the way around.
So one down for Drew Stubbs. Mentioned Masterson, a strikeout per inning this year. Mendoza, more of a pitch-to-contact guy. He's averaging just a little more than 5 strikeouts per 9 innings pitched, and just a little less than 4 walks per 9 innings. But he's allowed more hits than innings pitched so far this season. Though here tonight he is not allowed a hit with 1 out into the third.
Well, the Indians haven't had a lot of offense on this homestand.
Second strikeout for Mendoza, 2 down in the inning. Stat of the game brought to you by your Northern Ohio Buick dealers. When the Indians are down after 3, they've lost 26 of 28.
Yeah. And one of them wins last night.
Yep.
Won 2 out of the last 3. That's something, huh? After 3 innings.
Well, that also tells you the other thing that stat doesn't tell you, how many times they've had the early lead, and that's been a key in their success this year. The Indians have been very good when they've been able to score first, but so far tonight, a stalemate through 3. There's the new bridge that's under construction, and I don't know anything about the construction schedule, but it certainly looks like it's flying right along. That will certainly make things...
Is that the one you'll be taking on the way home?
That'll make things a lot easier for folks getting in and out of downtown.
And you'll be in that left lane going about 70, won't you?
No, never above 50 on the inner belts.
Oh, please. Especially with that new car.
The speed limit is clearly posted on both sides of the highway.
Yes, it is, but not your car.
Justin Masterson, 58 pitches through the first 3 frames. But last inning, it was only 13 pitches needed to set him down 1-2-3. Lorenzo Cain struck out his first time up. Just 3 hits in his last 20 at-bats. Check. Did
yes,
he will?
He did.
Alan
That's
Porter.
Second.
Home plate umpire rung him up with the right hand, and that's 5 strikeouts for Masterson.
Second straight time he has tried to check that swing, and you can't do it. And that's what makes him so tough on right-handed hitters.
Well, let's get a look at the AT&T trivia question tonight. 5 players in Major League history have 3,000 hits, 300 homers, and 600 doubles. Who are they? We'll have the answer coming up later in the game. Pitch outside for ball 1. David Lowe, a tap back to the mound his first time up. Up the middle it goes. Oh, it hit the lip of the grass. Kipnis stayed right with it, but his throw, he couldn't get anything on it, and Lowe beats it out for an infield single. So the Northeast Ohio native, who attended so many games here at Progressive Field growing up as a kid, watching those Indians teams of the 90s.
Well, he got down the line.
He got the Cleveland break right here.
Yeah, watch that ball. Hits the lip, and it stayed down. But, Kipnis, he wasn't able to get anything on it. So the speed, he beats it out, gets yourself an infield hit. That's why you hustle down there all the time.
1 on, 1 out now for Mike Moustakas, who singled his first time up. Mentioned before, Lowe was involved in a key play in last night's game. Lowe came around third in the 9th inning. Looked like he was going to score, but the third base coach had the stop sign up, and he got caught halfway down the line because he didn't pick up his third base coach,
right,
Eddie Rodriguez. And by the time he did, it was too late. And eventually, he got caught in a rundown. He went back to third, and the way the rule states, because he had already occupied third base, he's entitled to the bag. The runner, Moustakas, who went from second to third, was out. Lowe didn't realize that. He took his hands off the bag, and had they tagged him, he would have been out, and it would have been a huge double whammy for Kansas City.
Well, Pastano took the tag off, and he said he had 7 different guys yelling at him what to do, and he knew what was going on. He just, took the tag off. But that enabled the Indians to hold on and win the game.
I thought it was interesting, though, Rick, after the game, Ned Yost was asked, was it the right move for Rodriguez to hold up David Lowe at third? And Ned Yost's reply was, I don't know. So he didn't exactly back his third base coach.
Well, when you're out there in that little box as third base coach, I'll tell you what, it is a thankless position. Look, he had his arm up. As a base runner, my thought would be you better pick up your guy. Sure, you want to think home, but you got Gordon coming up next. You have 1 out. You don't want to get thrown out of the home plate. He can run, but, it's hard to put the blame on the third base coach.
Ripped down the right field line. It's a fair ball. And Stubbs will get it quickly.
Look,
he
he's
fires it to the cutoff
now.
man. Kipnis has it, and Lowe stops at third.
He's in the same spot he was in last night to stop him, and Lowe picked him up tonight. So what's that tell you? He looked a little earlier.
Yep.
Before he rounded third, he picked him up. And he wasn't going to send him.
And he admitted last night after the game, Lowe said, hey, it's totally my fault because I didn't pick up my third base coach.
I mean, this is the situation. He's in the same spot he was last night, way down near home plate. But look, he picked him up a lot earlier. You pick him up about 3 steps before you hit that bag, and he'll let you know.
All right, so only 1 out, and now second and third as Elliott Johnson comes to the plate. Royals threatening to get on the board first. Infield back except at the corners where they play even with the bags. Mike Moustakas, who has really struggled offensively this year, starting to pick it up, though, on the road as Johnson fouls it back. He's 2 for 2 tonight, so that means he's 8 for his last 21 on the road. And he's a better hitter than that 189 season average shows.
Sure he is. And he'll come out of it. He's just going through tough times right now, but he may want to stay in the grays, dress in the grays at home.
The 1-1. Lined up the middle, and that's a base hit. Lowe will score. Moustakas broke back towards second, so he'll stop at third. And Kansas City strikes first. 3 straight hits off Masterson here in the 4th inning, and it's 1-0.
This pitch looked like it was middle of the plate to me. And a slider. Yeah, look he gives him a fat pitch to hit right there, and he smokes it right back up the middle. So at second base, you have to go back. It's a line drive. So you go back. You can only go up 1 base. It's first and third. Kansas City grabs the lead for Johnson, his 9th RBI. And right now, Masterson looking for a ground ball double play. There he goes.
Grounded. Foul.
Woo-hoo,
that was close.
You're right. Not by much. But Hunter Wendelstedt right on the line. He didn't have to move. He had a bird's eye view. Look at him. That's right there. He knew it was coming his way. He just turned sideways, kept his eyes perched on the baseball. Boy, you hate to see this guy up with runners on base because he can handle a bat. I say that every night when you see this guy.
Fouled back. Escobar with a 7-game hitting streak now. 9 for 22 during his streak. Throw to first, but back safely is Johnson. Runner goes from first to second. Throw down, not in time. It was close, but Johnson able to beat the tag for his 11th steal, and now no double play possibility. Runners at second and third.
See if they bring the infield in now. Or they're going to leave it back. At least the middle part of the infield. He steals it easily. Now Santana Masterson talking over how they want to try and get Escobar out. It looks like they're going to keep the infield back. Well, and that's a tough call early in the game. When you do that, Terry's banking that his offense is going to score. I mean, they haven't scored a lot this homestand. Sometimes you look, a manager will bring the guys in to try and cut off a run early when you have a guy on the mound, but he's deciding to keep him back and give the run, and he gets the strikeout.
6 Ks for Masterson, 2 down in the inning.
Nicely done. And then you're banking on the big man to get a strikeout, and he did. He comes back with a beautiful slider. So that's what you bank on. Your pitcher's going to make a good pitch, and he did.
Now another tough out. Alex Gordon 0 for 2 on the night. 0 for 9 in the series. Strike called. Gordon bounced to second in the first inning, and after a pretty good at bat in the second inning, he wound up just tapping one, almost a half swing, right back to the mound. Ripped the first. What a catch by Reynolds. A diving stop near the line, and that ends the inning. Mark Reynolds playing some terrific first base tonight. 2 incredible diving stops. This one saves 2 runs. Right now on FoxSportsOhio.com, the Cavs drama continues. A brand new episode of Sports A to Z. And tell us if you've ever left a game early.
Yes, I have.
How about all those people that left last night in Miami and they were trying to bang on the door to get back in once the game went to overtime? They thought it was over. They thought the Heat had lost.
Right.
They were being interviewed by the local news media. Oopsie.
Yeah, he stayed in the final till the clock says 0. Or the 27th out is made, if you want to see it. You never know what's going to happen. You may think.
Well, that's the interesting thing. You know, you've said over the years the announced crowd at Lenny Barker's perfect game was, what, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000?
I'm thinking 5, maybe 6 tops.
But 300,000 claim they were there?
Yeah, right. Yeah, they claim they were there.
At least the however many that showed up, I'm guessing not any of those folks left early in that game.
Well, not as it starts building, no. Anybody that showed up because it was a wet, drizzly night.
It wasn't a nice night. Yeah,
no,
it was,
wet, drizzly night. And I think they had some sports award show going on downtown, too. So people started catching wind of it, so they started coming over. Yeah, because they're, it was starting to flash around and word started getting out.
How did they do that without cell phones?
They had megaphones that they were yelling through the streets. It was
Barker,
amazing.
Perfect game through 6. Guy walking downtown.
The tickers. Matter of fact, I think Pat Murray was the one that put word out on the street.
They just sent him downtown.
It was Pat because he was doing that game.
It was like the Blues Brothers. He was driving around in a car with the big megaphones on top on the roof. 2-ball, 2-strike count on Aviles. Luis Mendoza the line and the pitch. Foul over toward the Tribe dugout. Indians still looking for their first hit tonight.
They've got to get this guy out of the stretch. They've had no success. He had a 2-out walk in the first. That was to Kipnis. And other than that, it's been out of the full windup.
Grounded foul, third base side again.
And he is like pounding the strike zone.
Low and away. So a full count now.
That was one of the hardest pitches he threw tonight, about 94, and he tried to just throw a dart on the outside corner and just off the plate.
And Aviles grounds it right at the third baseman, Moustakas. And we've got one down here in the fourth.
Well, the new Tribe Park and Ride will bus you to and from Progressive Field from 5 area suburbs on 5 select dates. That includes this Saturday. So purchase your fare for only $5 per person at Indians.com/plan your trip.
Here is Jason Kipnis, the only Indians hitter to reach in the game to this point, and that was with a 2-out walk in the first. Well, the Indians, with a win last night, picked up a full game on the Tigers in the Central Division because Detroit lost last night. They didn't just lose today. They got throttled. Rick Porcello was bombed by Baltimore as the Orioles beat the Tigers today 13-3. Chris Davis hit 2 more home runs. He's got 26 now.
Does he really? My goodness. 26.
Is that right? That's what it says here.
Yeah, he got on a hot streak. It had to.
Yeah, 26 home runs. He's pulling away from the pack.
Well, guess where we go on Monday?
Yeah. Baltimore, here we come.
Yeah, for 4.
Porcello went 6 innings in that game, gave up 6 runs on 9 hits. So the winner of this game will pick up a full game on Detroit in the divisional standings. The question now, will it be the Indians or will it be Kansas City? Royals have a 1-0 lead. Bottom of the 4th, Jason Kipnis awaits the 2-2. Mendoza was headed to the dugout. Boy, he turned his head toward the infielders. Just kind of almost half laughing, like, how is that not strike 3? Huh?
Well, it's a pretty good pitch, I'll tell you that.
3-2 fouled back. I guess he wasn't headed to the dugout, but he was headed for his little walk around the mound while they threw it around the horn.
Well, and as a hitter, when you take one like that and you see that reaction, you say, boy, I think I might have to swing at the next one that's that close.
Payoff pitch, line to second, and I mean right at Elliott Johnson for out number 2. Time now for tonight's injury report. It is brought to you by Elk & Elk, serious lawyers for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK, Ohio. The Yankees putting both Mark Teixeira and Kevin Youkilis on the 15-day disabled list. You know who was playing right field? I think Thomas Neal was out there for the Yankees. I saw that. Clay Buchholz, David Ross down on the DL for Boston.
How many former Indians did they pick up, by the way?
Well, they had Thomas Neal. They had just released Ben Francisco on when we were there, or just before we had gotten to New York.
Hafner.
David Huff. He's in the minor leagues with them now. It's at least 4. Bounced foul.
That's true. CC, Jason Nix.
Yeah, but the 4 we talked about were just in the last year.
I know.
Two down, a 1-1 count on Carlos Santana. Grounded to first his first time up. 9 in a row retired by Luis Mendoza, the 1-1. Swung on and missed to even the count at 2-2. Low and outside, a full count. The payoff pitch found right back. You almost wonder if the Indians' offensive struggles here of late, if it's not simply a cumulative effect of not having Asdrubal Cabrera and a healthy Nick Swisher in the middle of that lineup. That's your 3 and 4 hitters that you've been counting on, and all of a sudden you're moving people around. And
certainly cannot help.
Santana swing and a miss. He strikes out. 10 straight set down by Royals right-hander Luis Mendoza. 1-0 Kansas City. This receiver only from AT&T Uverse. Rethink possible. And by your local Toyota dealers. Toyota, let's go places. Kansas City with a 1-0 lead as we go to the 5th inning. Eric Hosmer, Salvador Perez, Billy Butler due up for the Royals, and Hosmer finds the hole on the left side. And he's got his second hit of the night.
He went that way his first at bat and had a base hit. Liked it so much he went there again. That's the first time tonight that Kansas City has had their leadoff man aboard.
Well, he's got a very good approach against that two-seam fastball, not trying to pull it.
Right. That's
going
stay
right
on
with
it.
it.
Stay on it. They have 7 hits now.
Salvador Perez walked in the first, struck out in the fourth. Perez snapped an 0 for 13 skid yesterday. And even with that little mini slump, he is still the second best batting average among American League catchers. You'll be absolutely shocked to hear who number 1 is. Joe Mauer of Minnesota. I know. Hey, hard to believe, I know.
We'll see them this weekend.
That's right. The Twins come to town for a 3-game series starting Friday.
Yes. There he goes.
Swing and a miss.
Hit and run.
Santana had a tough time getting a grip on it. Still a very close play. Kipnis slapping the tag. And Hosmer,
well, he
not to be
bobbled it.
confused with the speed demon, has his second stolen base of the game.
Yeah, Santana bobbled it coming out. I mean, it was a hit and run, so he didn't get a good jump. You could see. And there was plenty of time, but just to throw up the line, and he bobbled it coming out in the transfer.
I think he was out. I don't know.
No,
That was close.
He had the hand in there. Watch his hand get to the base, and then he tags him up around the shoulder. But now a stolen base, so it's man on second, nobody out.
It's already the third stolen base of the night for Kansas City. Hosmer with a pair, and Elliott Johnson had the other.
Well, Santana has had issues this year throwing out base runners.
Right at the second baseman, Aviles, who looks the runner back. Throws, and Reynolds did keep his toe on the bag for out number 1. That was close. One down for Billy Butler.
When you talk about Carlos throwing him out, he's 4 for 33. And we'll call him Twinkle Toes, because watch, that's about the only thing that's on the base right there is his toes. Or toe.
Sergeant Holcomb.
Yeah, the big toe is right. Nice effort. Good play by Reynolds.
Billy Butler trying to go the other way, fouls it back out of play.
We got a couple birthday wishes we have to send out tonight. Dorothy Beener from Painesville, Ohio, is turning 100 today at the game tonight. A big Tribe fan. Dorothy, happy 100th birthday. And Richard Crawford of Cleveland, celebrating his 93rd, a veteran who served the U.S. World War II, Korean, and Vietnam Wars. Happy birthday to you as well.
Absolutely. Terry Francona's club does not have a hit, yet they only trail 1-0. Thanks to Masterson's pitching to this point. He's had trouble to deal with. Base runners in all but 1 inning tonight, and runners in scoring position in all but 1 inning
pretty
tonight.
much how yesterday's game went. They only had 3 hits to the 8th inning.
Grounded towards third. It's in the hole. Backhanded by Aviles. No, it gets by him, but Hosmer could not advance because had Aviles come up with it, he'd have been a dead duck at third.
Well, yeah, how often do you see that? A base hit, get to left field, and you can't advance from second. But you're right, you can't. You have to make the ball go through when you're the runner at second base. But Chisenhall's off the bag. But he got up in a hurry to scramble back in case Aviles caught this ball once he realized he wasn't going to get it. So Hosmer just stayed at second. That'll be an infield or a single for Butler. But a double play comes back into order again.
Lorenzo Cain has struck out twice tonight. And looks at a called strike. Cain has just 3 hits in his last 21 at-bats. However, on the year, he's hit .328 with runners in scoring position. And that's where the Royals really feel like George Brett has had a good positive impact in his brief time with the club. The quality of at-bats with runners in scoring position has gotten better.
That concentration level seems to, intensify once you get in there. When you get guys in scoring position, you just have to relax, don't get too aggressive, and then concentrate on putting a quality at-bat up and hitting it hard somewhere, not doing too much with it.
You wonder, too, how much of an eye-opener it has been for Brett, who played a long time. 21 years he played for Kansas City in the big leagues. But he's been out of the game as a player a long time now. And so now to be coaching for the first time as a hitting coach.
But he's been in uniform every spring. He goes down in spring training with him, is around the batting cage. He knows the guys. He's around the ballpark all the time. But it's just a different generation of kids.
Wow, Lorenzo Cain has no clue against Masterson tonight. That is the 3rd time he has struck out, all 3 times swinging. And that's a half dozen Ks for Justin. 2 down in the inning.
Well, that's number 3 against Cain. He's seen him 3 times, and he's come up empty 3 times. I don't even know if he's fouled one off. So, out number 2. That's a tough at-bat for some right-handers against the big man.
Well, now David Lowe. An infield single, his first time up. This one, he skips it past the third baseman Chisenhall. Coming around third, Hosmer will score. 2-0 Kansas City. So the kid who grew up Cleveland proud, cheering for the Indians and the Browns and the Cavaliers, does his old club in here with a nice piece of hitting. Just kept it inside the bag at third to make it 2-0 KC.
It was a breaking ball, too, Matt, that he slaps past Chisenhall. So Kansas City continues their 2-out hitting. They're right behind the Indians. We told you that tonight. It's a 2-0 ball game. 9 hits now for the Royals. And the Indians got to be careful. They can't let this one get away from them too early here.
Bounce foul, third base side. Moustakas having a good night swinging the bat. He has 4 hits in the series. Moustakas was hitting 186 when the series began. He can go up over the Mendoza line with another hit. This one, weakly hit to short. Aviles off balance throw. Got him just in time to end the inning. But Kansas City gets a RBI single from David Lowe to make it 2-0 Royals. We go to the bottom of the 5th inning, and it's 2-0 Kansas City. 2 runs on 9 hits. The Indians still looking for their first. And it will be Michael Brantley, Mark Reynolds, Jason Giambi due up for the Tribe. Luis Mendoza, the only blemish, a 2-out walk to Jason Kipnis in the first. Michael has had his struggles offensively, as I mentioned earlier, over his last 13 now. But he's the guy that drove in the game winner last night.
Yeah, he
Sack
put a
fly.
nice at bat together on that tough breaking ball off Collins, the left-hander, who has a very good breaking ball.
But Michael was quick to say afterwards, this was a team win tonight. He said, look at all the guys that were on base ahead of me that got the action started.
It's one of those games where we watched it on the road. I say, you had no business losing this game, and we did. Now you come home, we really didn't have any business winning that game, and they did. Because they had 3 hits going into that inning. They ended up having 3 hits in that inning. And their bullpen, who had given up 2 runs in the prior 37 innings that they had pitched, gave up 3 last night. So, I mean, it was a team win. They did exactly what they had to do to get by, and you never thought they would give up 3 hits, a walk in that 9th inning, and hold the Royals, and they didn't score.
No, and Michael said the key for the Indians is as tough as that game was last night. And Terry Francona said afterwards, we did everything but lose it. But Michael said the players kept a positive frame of mind in the dugout. He drives one to deep right field. The slump is over. And the Indians are on the board. Brantley snaps it 0 for 13 with his 3rd home run of the year. And the Indians sliced the Royal lead in half, 2-1 on their first hit of the night.
Well, not only does he bust up the no-hitter, he busts up the shutout, too. And you talk about a quality at-bat and where home runs come from, right there. That was a ball hit right on the line. He had a quality at-bat. He went down and got a breaking ball down and in and just put a good stroke on it. He didn't try and hit that ball out. He tried to hit it hard. He did hit it hard, and it got out of the ballpark, and the Indians are on the board.
Mark Reynolds popped up his first time up, takes a strike. Down low, he missed 2-1.
Well, don't want to say anything, Matt, but that's the 5th inning again, and that has been the Indians' inning this year. When you look at the most 5th inning home runs in baseball, the Indians have hit the most. That's their 21st home run in the 5th inning. Atlanta has 15, Colorado, and the Cubbies have 13. But inning number 5 has been lucky, or a good inning for the Indians.
Popped in the air.
That may.
Over his low, in a foul ground, reaches and makes the catch.
He did make it.
And that could have been a fan interference situation because the fan was over the railing in the field of play.
I did see the umpire say, though, it looked like it was, he pointed into the seats.
Really?
Yeah, watch. He was pointing in. He went in behind
I guess
that
he did.
guy.
Yeah, you're right.
He went in behind. The umpire was sort of like pointing there, and I took it as like he said it was, in the seats.
Yeah,
That's
he did.
Great
He did go over the
concentration.
railing, yeah.
Very good
The
concentration.
fan was reaching out into the field of play, but he wasn't close to the ball.
Well, that figures. that's why he's a fan.
That's why he's over there, and David Lowe's out there. One away for Jason Giambi.
That's pretty good concentration when you're getting near that fence to catch it with somebody, although he was in front of him.
Giambi struck out his first time up. Now the count is 3-0. And Lonnie Chisenhall waiting on deck. Ned Yost has watched Mendoza slice and dice so far here tonight, but the home run by Brantley as the Indians right back in it now, down 2-1. And Giambi drives one to deep left field. Gordon back on the track, pulls it down, 2 away.
Well, come on down for Dollar Dogs and a postgame fireworks show Friday night. After an off day tomorrow, the Indians golf outing will be there. The Twins come to town, and it'll be Dollar Dogs Friday night during the game. It'll be fireworks show after the game. It'll be set to Disney movie theme, so come on out to the ballpark. Yeah, the Indians with an off day. They will have their golf outing out at Quail Hollow. A lot of former players in town tonight. We ran into a few of them before the game. Greg Swindell.
Our buddy Max Alvis. Lonnie Chisenhall grounds out and the inning is over, but Michael Brantley with one mighty swing of the bat has the Tribe back in it, down 2-1.
Ho, 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 ho.
Well, he's on vacation, right?
Yes, he is. Well, it is a little chilly here tonight. It's got the red sleeves on. Nice.
It is a 2-1 Kansas City lead. Going to the 6th inning. The number 8 hitter, Elliott Johnson, will lead it off. Elliott Johnson getting the start tonight. Chris Getz was the second baseman last night, batting in the 8th spot in the lineup, and he was at the eye of the storm in that 9th inning because he couldn't do that. Masterson throws him out. But Getz was trying to sacrifice. He was trying to bunt the runners over. He couldn't get it done. He wound up striking out.
Yeah.
And Ned Yost said, in hindsight, that was the ball game, because if he bunts him over, then Escobar's hit scores 1, if not 2, and then he said we go to our bullpen and we've got our closer to try and close it out. So again, it goes back to your great quote that you always like to go, your go-to quote when you win all sins are absolved. When you lose, you go back and you nitpick every little mistake you make.
Well, and he's not in the lineup tonight, and the other guy is, so he must have been upset about it. But, I mean, that happens from time to time. You want somebody to execute, you don't happen. I mean, managers bring the bullpen into the ball game, and when it works out, they're great. When it doesn't, they're terrible.
Yeah. That'll go 1-4-3, and there are 2 down here in the 6th. Game recap brought to you by your Northern Ohio Toyota dealers. Elliott Johnson with the RBI single in the 4th inning got the Royals on the board first. And then David Lowe made it 2-0 with a 2-out RBI hit just inside the bag at 3rd. Tribe's only run coming on Michael Brantley's solo shot to start the bottom of the 5th. And that is where we stand now in the 6th inning. 2 runs, 9 hits for Kansas City.
Well, this guy was robbed of a base hit his last time up, or he would have had a couple of RBIs. Reynolds made a beautiful diving stop going down the line, saved it. It was a double.
Marks made 2 terrific plays already in this game tonight. He took a hit away from Elliott Johnson back in the 2nd inning.
Well, they have 9 hits. They've pulled 4. They've hit 1 up the middle. That was Johnson's we just saw, and they have 4 the opposite way. Hosmer with 2, and the one we showed you with David Lowe. So they've used the whole field off Masterson, and believe me, they have 9 hits. They could have more than that. So the Indians very fortunate again. I mean, he's weathered the storm. It's still a 1-run game, 2-1. But boy, by the looks of it, you look up at the scoreboard, 2 runs on 9 hits. The Indians have 1 on 1. They're lucky to be in the game.
Yep.
And you're looking like this is going to be the last inning for Masterson if he can get through it. He's about 105 pitches.
Swung out and missed. On his 105th pitch of the night, he strikes out. Alex Gordon, his 7th K of the night, 2-1, Kansas City. Get ready for Fox Sports 1, America's new 24-hour sports network. Fox Sports 1 will be your home for live sports, news, highlights, and shows that only Fox can bring you. America's new sports network is Fox Sports 1, coming August 17th. For the Tribe, Drew Stubbs, then the top of the order. Stubbs struck out his only time up back in the 3rd. It'll be interesting to see. Didn't check the dugout between innings, but Ryan Shaw, who had been warming up, has stopped. Masterson's at 105 pitches. Drew Stubbs with a leadoff single here in the 6th.
There you go. Get the leadoff man aboard, especially one that can run. Now you've got some things you can do. With Stubbs aboard, you got the top of your lineup coming up with Michael Bourne. He picks himself a little two-seam fastball. Finds the hole between short and third. Just the second hit for the Indians. They had the leadoff man, Michael Brantley, hit the home run. Now the second straight inning, they've got their leadoff man on.
Well, we'll see how this inning plays out. But for now, it would appear Masterson is coming back for the next inning. He's in the dugout. He has not been given the old pat on the back. Good job tonight.
Well, good. You got to wait and see how it goes. You're right. That seventh inning makes a big deal.
All right, so here's Bourne 0 for 2 on the night, 2 for 9 in the series. Stubbs draws a throw. He's back with an easy dive.
I will say this, though. He's coming back for the 2, 3, and 4 in that lineup for Kansas City. And those aren't the guys that, well, Hosmer's got a couple knocks off him, but he's at 105. He can go out. He can come out again if needed. See what happens in this inning.
Down low, ball 1.
Oh, I get a read on Mendoza because, Stubbs, he likes to run. He can steal. He's stolen 7 this year and yet to be caught. So he's got an excellent ratio, and he'll pick the right pitch if Mendoza's not that quick. He gives his catcher a pretty good chance.
2-0 the count.
He's got to be under the average of 1.3, delivering the ball to the plate. Perez with a good arm back there. With the 3 stolen bases the Royals have tonight, they've overtaken the Indians. They started the game in second place in stolen bases, but now they are third behind the Royals.
Close play. It's outside. 3-0.
That's what you love when you get
that's
a pitcher.
That's what speed does, right?
Exactly. I mean, you make that pitcher rush a little bit to try and get the hitter, and it throws him out of whack and out of rhythm. He's just not staying behind the ball. You try and get it to that catcher a little quicker in case he wants to run, and you don't find the strike zone. So now Bourne's sitting in a beautiful position at 3-0.
And it's ball 4.
So
go. Stubbs can just jog down to second base. So the tying run into scoring position, Bourne the go-ahead run down to first. And while they talk it over on the mound, we'll go back to the Hyundai Studios for an in-game update with Al Pawlowski.
Hey, Matt. Hey, Rick. Chicago and Minnesota, the other game tonight in the American League Central. We'll see the Twins this weekend, but the White Sox, the early lead. Alejandro De Aza leads the game off with a home run, his 9th of the year. That's been it thus far. White Sox lead the Twins 1-0. Bottom of the second in Minnesota, Matt.
Yeah, hard to believe the Chicago White Sox 10 games under 500. Minnesota 5 games below the break-even mark as they battle it out tonight. All right, so here we go, 2 on, nobody out. Mike Aviles 0 for 2 on the night at the plate. He squares. He pulls it back. It's ball 1.
Aviles this year with 1 sacrifice. The Indians only have 8 on the year when you talk about sacrifices. So it's something they haven't done a lot. But the way their offense is going, it's not a bad time to do it.
Aviles not showing it this time. Tees off. Deep left. Gordon back. It's over his head. He can't make the play. Scoring is Stubbs. Bourne around second will put the brakes on and stop there. Mike Aviles with a long RBI single ties the game at 2. And the only reason it's a long RBI single is because Bourne had to make sure Gordon didn't make the catch. It was over his head. He almost made a spectacular grab, but couldn't quite come up with it.
Well, and that ball was knocked down again by the wind. Now, this guy in left field, he's a premier left fielder. he smokes this ball. But what happened? That first fake bunt set it up. They thought he was going to bunt. He throws him a good pitch, and Gordon got back there. He got leather on it. It deflects off his glove. Stubbs can score easily, but you're right. Michael Bourne had to wait. He thought the ball was going to be caught. It was not. We have a tie ball game, first and second. Still nobody out.
It's funny, the different emotions. You saw Mendoza react as if to say, oh, I thought he was going to catch it.
Yep.
You see Gordon, he's upset that he didn't. I think Aviles thought it was at least off the wall, if not maybe a home run.
He did. I think he did. And Gordon probably, he'll tell you, he should have caught it because he got leather on it, and it only hit the track. But that's what happens when you panic. You get back there. He thought it was over his head, too. And again, it's not playing in his own ballpark. It's a little different.
Jason Kipnis, still nobody out. He has walked, and he hit one on the nose his last time up, but he hit it right at the second baseman, Elliott Johnson. Left-hander Tim Collins getting loose for KC. Kipnis squares. Beautiful bunt. Third base side. Moustakas barehand grab. No play anywhere. And the bases are loaded on a bunt single by Kipnis.
How about that one? Sometimes you play little ball and you can have big innings. You think Aviles is going to bunt. He ends up hitting it, hits it out onto the track, and your better hitter that's going better ends up laying down a bunt, and it goes for a base hit. And now Mendoza in a heap load of trouble. Bases loaded and nobody out. So they have 3 hits in the inning, the walk to Bourne after he was out of the stretch, and an opportunity for a big inning for the Indians.
That's a third bunt single already this year for Kipnis. So they're loaded with nobody out, and Carlos Santana 0 for 2 on the night steps in. And Salvador Perez wants to either stall for time or go out and talk. Nope, he's headed. I guess it was just a timeout to make sure everybody was on the same page.
Well, and base runners here on line drives, you freeze. You can see they're sitting for the ground ball double play, but anything in the air, you just have to hold your ground. You've got the opportunity. It's a 6th inning. Make sure it gets through.
Carlos Santana, probably the right man at the plate in this situation right now. He's riding a 10-game hitting streak, and on the year 4 for 6 with the bases loaded.
Ooh, you're right. Right man, right time.
Mendoza hanging by a string, his 81st pitch of the night. Down low, 2-0.
Good patience. See, that's been his breaking ball that he's been very good with tonight. But now they're making him elevate the ball and get it up a little bit. Earlier, you see him swinging a lot of pitches down out of the zone because he was ahead in the count. So he expanded their strike zone. Now they're making him get it up. Continue the patience.
Time called. Mendoza maybe a little flustered with the turn of events here. He was cruising along. He'd retired 10 in a row before Brantley's solo homer last inning. And now 4 straight have reached to start the 6th. In the dirt, a good block by Perez. But it's now 3-0 on Santana.
Here's the situation. A lot of times you like to give a guy a green light. I would like to see him take one. Make him throw a strike. He's throwing everything down in the dirt. He's been rattled. He's still in the stretch. He's having a tough time throwing strikes. Don't help him out.
Crowd into it now. 3-0 pitch. Upstairs, ball 4. Indians take the lead. Santana, RBI number 32 on the year, and a very good patient at bat for Santana.
Yeah, that's going to do it.
That is going to be it for Luis Mendoza. He does not retire a batter in the 6th inning. You want to talk about a turn of events?
No kidding.
He had retired 10 straight, then gave up the first hit of the night, a solo homer to Brantley to start the 5th. That was the only hit through 5, 1 run, and then 5 straight reached to start the 6th.
It collapsed.
Good night, Luis Mendoza.
The leadoff hitter got aboard, and then after the stretch, everything fell apart.
Today's Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen. Left-hander Tim Collins is coming on when we come back. Luis Mendoza can only sit and watch now as the Indians have taken a 3-2 lead. Left-hander Tim Collins on for the 29th time this year. He'll be facing the left-handed hitting Michael Brantley with the bases loaded and nobody out.
Yeah, he came on in yesterday's game and had runners at first and second with one out. And that was Brantley's last at-bat. And home run, line drive into the seats. First hit, first run for the Indians. And Brantley hit a sac fly off this guy last night and scored Aviles for the go-ahead run.
Outside, ball one.
And he is not afraid to throw that changeup he has to left-handed hitters. He threw Michael one last night. Started him off with the fastball, then a changeup, and then he went to the breaking ball, and that's what Michael hit. But they have a chance to put a little cushion into this one.
Down low, 2-0. Mike Aviles is at third. Jason Kipnis at second. Carlos Santana is at first base. Now Collins ready with a 2-0. Brantley lifts one high in the air. Left field.
That's not going to do it.
Not very deep. Gordon under it. He'll make the catch. Aviles is going to try to score. Here's the throw. Not in time. Aviles' speed beats the throw. And the Indians now lead it 4-2. Kansas City will appeal the play. They have to wait. They threw it right down to third base to appeal, but you've got to wait till the pitcher steps off the rubber and announces the appeal. But we'll get to that in a moment.
Ready. Yeah, he was ready. I thought that ball was in.
I thought he left fine.
Yeah, he was. I think he was fine. They're not going to call him for anything. He was fine. I thought it was in closer than what it was. And Gordon just didn't stay behind it enough. He caught it up above his head, but that allowed Aviles to score. So Brantley, for the second night in a row, hits a sacrifice fly off Collins. Now they're going to go to the set. He's going to walk over, and they're going to make the appeal, but I'm sure it's going to be A-OK because he did not leave early. You got to put the ball back in play. There he is. Here comes the appeal, and the home plate umpire makes a call and says, no, he did not leave early. So Aviles, the RBI counts. Aviles scores the run. It makes it a 4-2 ball game.
And still only one out in the inning now as Mark Reynolds steps to the plate. And a breaking ball in there for strike one. Evens the count 1-1. Aviles with an RBI single. Brantley the sac fly. Santana bases loaded walk, driving in a run. And now Reynolds lines one just past Escobar, kicked off of his glove. Kipnis coming around third, and he'll be stopped there by Mills.
Yeah.
And a good job by the Indians' third base coach.
Yes.
Kipnis was aggressively into the bag. He was turning the corner, thinking about going home. But once Gordon got his mitts on it, okay, everybody just slow down.
Yeah, that's just a deep throw from shortstop is what it is. Kipnis had to go back. He thought it was going to be a line drive, that it goes off the glove of Escobar and it trickles into the outfield. Well, he was thinking home plate, but wisely holed up. And now it was going to be Giambi, the hitter, but they're going to pinch hit. Looks like Rayburn coming up in the on-deck circle, and he will be walking to the plate for Giambi.
So with the left-hander Collins on the hill, Terry Francona goes to his right-handed bat off the bench.
This is just like the eighth inning last night, where the Indians had 3 hits all game going into the eighth inning. They had 1 hit, which was in the 5th inning. Well, they have 4 hits in the inning and 2 walks.
Now Rayburn with the bags loaded and 1 out. Takes outside ball 1.
Rayburn this year as a pinch hitter, 0 for 1, just 1 opportunity. Again, this is only the 13th time an Indians has pinch hit this year.
He's only had 1 opportunity this season with the bases loaded as well. He's 0 for 1. Got a chance to open this baby up, though. Tribe leading at 4-2. The 1-1. And it's called a strike on the breaking ball. 1-2 the count. Strike 3 called. Rayburn says, "You got to be kidding me." 2 down.
Well, he went breaking ball, changeup. And this changeup is down and away, and that's really too close to take with 2 strikes. Boy, he worked him over. That's a tough one to take.
So 2 down for Lonnie Chisenhall, who is the 9th man to bat in the inning, as the bases remain loaded for the Indians. Chisenhall hitless in his return to the Tribe, 0 for 5. One and 1 the count. When he was sent down, he was in an 0 for 14 slump. But he swung the bat very well for Columbus. Grounded to first. Should end the inning, and it does. Tribe leaves them loaded, but they score 3 in the 6th to take a 4-2 lead over Kansas City. Baseball is brought to you by Panini's, with 18 locations in Northeast Ohio, and by Levin. Four-two, Tribe on top now as we go to the seventh inning, and Justin Masterson coming back out with activity in the Indians bullpen. Time now for our AT&T Uverse Rewind. Justin Masterson has thrown 105 pitches. 70 of those have been strikes. He has struck out 8 Kansas City hitters. He's walked just 1. He has allowed 9 hits, and 2 runs have come in.
Yeah, and very fortunate. They could have some more. There's some fine defense that has been played behind him. He's going through the lineup now for the 4th time. You know, we talk about the first time, second time, or the 3rd time through. Well, this is the 4th time for the Royals. So Terry says, let's go. You go out there and see if he can get through this inning for me. Give me 2 innings out of that bullpen. But he's falling behind.
3-1 to count. And he walks the leadoff man.
Well, that's not what the skipper wanted to see, I can tell you that.
Salvador Perez walked his first time up. He has struck out, grounded out since then. Rip foul. You know, I want to reference Katie's interview with George Brett one last time because we just don't get to hear from him that often. And she asked him a great question about hitting 400. He's the last guy to come close to doing it. And he made an interesting point just about, you know, when Ted Williams did it in 1941, the game has evolved and changed so much since then. He didn't have specialty relievers. So he said in that era, you know, he faced the starter pretty much the entire game.
Right.
And he'd get to see him 3, potentially 4 times. He said starters would go 150 pitches in a game.
Complete
so obviously
games were something very good.
Your stuff wouldn't be quite as good maybe towards the end of the game, whereas nowadays you've got a starter that goes 6, and then he said, you know, if he goes 7, then you've got a guy making a ton of money coming in and just blowing through the 8th inning, and then you got a guy making more money than that coming in just to pitch the 9th.
Specialty.
So he said it's different, and he said I think it's going to be a much, much more difficult task to accomplish in today's game.
Well, what this tells me right now, and Masterson hasn't had a great game. We've seen so many games he's pitched better. He's battled out there tonight, and I think Francona sent him out there because right now he has a tough time trusting his bullpen. And you can see that because they haven't been sharp. You know, so he's hoping the big man can battle his way through, maybe get a ground ball and get a double play and get him through the inning. Because if his bullpen was right, he'd be into it right now.
I talked to Chris Perez in the Indians clubhouse tonight. Still rehabbing. He had a rough outing last night. He said,
"Boy, rough."
He said, physically, I feel great. But he said, I'm not there yet. He said, you know, I've got to work on the command. And round ball there. Maybe the double play. Aviles goes to a knee, throws to second. There's one. Kipnis tries to turn 2, but it's not in time. And Aviles just didn't quite get the footing under him. And,
you know, he was playing him up the middle, too.
Yeah, I mean, you get one, that's fine. That's a good play to get one, but the ball was just far enough away from him that it carried him into the hole. And once he went to a knee, that probably killed any shot he had of getting 2.
Yeah, but you know what? Get one. That's all you need. You got to get an out. They get an out. That's going to be Masterson's night. A great job of battling by him all night long. And by Aviles right there, good job. And he gives you 6 1/3 innings. Not much more you can do.
Good outing for the Indians.
115 pitches.
And tonight's Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen. It will be Brian Shaw coming on when we come back. 4-2, Tribe on top. We are in the 7th inning. 1 on, 1 out. Brian Shaw coming on for the Indians. He'll be facing Billy Butler. Shaw's 29th appearance, no wins, a loss, 3.31 ERA. He's got 30 strikeouts in his 32 2/3. And Billy Butler is 1 for 3 on the night.
Well, this guy, it doesn't matter who he's facing, is always a tough out.
Swung on and missed. Good pitch. Off speed. Good downward action, and Butler chased after it. You recall Butler struck out in the first inning on a slider from Justin Masterson.
Just like that. But that's why you bring in the fresh arms, because, you know, the break's a little sharper than normal. He hasn't seen that pitcher before. Goes up high fastball, but you know, good hitters, when you hit 300, you earn it in this league now. This guy, he doesn't get infield hits. You know, he hits 300. He doesn't run a lick.
No, his idea of an infield hit is one that goes to the outfield. Broke his bat. Could be 2 here.
Yes,
Kipnis kicks it. Gets the out with Aviles, tries to turn 2,
boy,
but unable to do so. They do have 2 outs in the inning, however.
Boy, you hate to see that. When you get a play like that, you got a double play ball. A lot of times it's a play that's not turned that comes back to bite you. But a double play, there's back-to-back double play balls. They haven't been able to turn them. And this one, you know, he knows it. He just bobbled it, and you got the 2 slowest runners going. They tried to turn it, couldn't do it, but they do get the out. Now Butler remains at first base. But, boy, in essence, it's not an error, but it gives you 1 extra out. This is a guy that's thrilled to see Masterson off the mound.
Swung on and missed, maybe.
Well, I'll tell you what, he'd rather see anybody but Justin Masterson. 3 at-bats, he saw 13 pitches, went down 3 times. 3 balls, 10 strikes.
Fastball up and away. Foul right back to the screen.
I mean, it was just one of those tough nights. Check swing the first time, check swing the second time. And he said, I'm not checking this time. I might as well just go ahead and swing it because I'm not checking.
Coach, I need a longer bat.
No, Coach, I just need a different pitcher. That's when you go out and say, I got to play good defense tonight.
Shaw's 1-2. Swung out and missed. He struck him out, and that's 4 Ks for Kane as Brian Shaw does the job here in the 7th inning. Tribe on top 4-2, and it's time now for the 7th inning stretch. Brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. Life is hard. Buying a car shouldn't be. Beautiful look at downtown Cleveland from our Panini cam. Brought to you by Panini's Bar and Grill. Well, here in the bottom of the 7th inning, Kansas City will go back to their bullpen. Third pitcher to work tonight is right-hander Kelvin Herrera.
Herrera came on for a third of an inning last night. He's the one that got that inning started for the Indians with that leadoff walk to Rayburn, and then Bourne had the hit on a breaking ball, and this guy was throwing 99, 90. He threw a couple pitches in the hundreds like that.
Swung out and missed. He pulled the string out of him there for the strikeout, 1 down.
Well, before Saturday night's game against the Twins, Carlos Baerga will be inducted into the Indians Hall of Fame. Also, John Hart, the architect of those 90 teams. No, that'll be Saturday. Log on to Indians.com for your tickets. It'll be a 7:15 start. Baerga in the house tonight. I haven't seen John Hart, but I know Baerga's here.
Michael Bourne fouls it straight back. I caught up with John at the annual winter meetings this past December down in Nashville and talked to him for quite a while. He's really enjoying what he's doing now. I mean, he had such a terrific run here in Cleveland as the Indians general manager. As you take a look at Carlos Baerga.
What has he got? What are they talking? They got earphones in. They're talking. He's waving. There's Espy right behind him. Doug Jones waving in the blue shirt out of the window. They got everybody in the house.
Michael Bourne lines one to the gap in left center field. That's in the alley. Kane cuts it off, but he won't stop Bourne from rolling into second base with a 1-out double.
I'd be willing to bet, Matt, that if Michael Bourne, who got the base hit last night, it was on a breaking ball. And this guy's throwing 98, 99. He went up there and he knew he was going to get fastballs off this guy, and he was ready. He had the dial turned up. Great swing on the first one. He fouled off and hit that one to left center field for a double. Oh, nice job by Michael. That's only the 6th hit for the Indians.
Perez going to go out and hand deliver the new baseball to Kelvin Herrera as Mike Aviles steps to the plate. Aviles 1 for 3 on the night. Aviles an RBI single to left his last time up, but it was not your garden variety RBI hit. He drove it to deep left. Initially, he thought maybe it was going to be off the wall or out of the park. It got to the warning track where Gordon got leather on it but couldn't pull it in. Aviles had 2 hits in his last 2 at-bats in last night's game. An RBI single in the 6th, another base hit in the 8th. Both of those hits came to left field. So it's not as though he's a dead pull hitter. We've seen him use the whole field, but boy, it seems like when he gets locked in, he hits some line drives to left. Bourne breaks for third. He's got it stolen easily. No chance. The 11th steal of the year for Bourne.
No, that's the base runner in him right there. He knew he had it timed, and Aviles did the right thing. He stepped back. He saw the jump that Michael had, and he says, go ahead, man. Could be a free RBI for me if you get at third base. They got to bring the infield in now. Although it was a strike, he's down at the count 0-2, so he's really going to have to battle him against a guy that throws awfully hard.
Hits it in the air, right field.
How about that?
David Lowe backpedaling. He'll make the catch, but he'll have no chance to get Bourne, who cruises home with the Indians' 5th run of the night. So what a job by both Aviles and Bourne. Great teamwork there. Bourne swipes third, and on an 0-2 pitch, Aviles brings him home.
Second sac fly of the night for the Indians. Well done. Add-on run here in the 7th inning. Nicely done. makes it a 5-2 game.
Now Jason Kipnis looks at a ball outside. Fastball in the outside corner. Two and one. Line down the line, out of play. Two and two with two down here in the seventh.
Yeah, the Royals had a 2-0 lead in the top half of the fifth inning. And then the Indians happened to get on the board, and it's been 5 unanswered. And it is now a 5-2 ball game.
Close pitch, a little bit out of the zone. Kipnis did not offer at it. And a full count. That's all the way to the backstop, ball 4. So a 2-out base runner now for Carlos Santana. Golf pro Jimmy Hanlon takes you inside the golf zone. Sundays at 9 on Sports Time Ohio. Get golfing tips and the latest news from the PGA Tour in the golf zone with Jimmy Hanlon on Sports Time Ohio. Talking with our own Brian McDermott before the ball game, our high home camera operator, and one of the best in the business. He travels the globe working all the big golf events, and he's headed over to the northern part of Scotland, I think he told us, for the British Open in a few weeks.
Yeah. Well, he was just in Philadelphia.
For the U.S. Open.
For the U.S. Open. So shagging a baseball is easy compared to those little golf balls. He has no problem, man. They look like beach balls. It's like a hitter locked in. Only the cameraman is locked in.
Yeah. 1-0 pitch. I'm going to have to ask him, though. For a shooter, that's got to be a challenge. The British Open compared to any other golf tournament.
Oh man!
Because there's no trees for backdrop.
Yeah.
And the wind blows, and you never know where the ball's going to end up.
Yeah, it's an art, and it's not that big. In the club, you know, we talk about club head speed in baseball. How about that in golf, where that ball jumps off?
2-0 count for Santana, who's trying to extend his hitting streak to 11 games. He has grounded out, struck out, but a key at bat in the 6th inning. Bases loaded, nobody out, and he was patient, and he drew a bases loaded walk to drive in a run.
Yep.
And that tied the game.
That's the heat against heat.
Actually, that gave the Indians the lead, didn't it? I think the bases loaded walk put them ahead.
Yeah, that was the 3rd run in that inning. That was, let's go. Mano-a-mano, fastball. Good fastball pitcher against good fastball hitter there.
Runner goes, swing and a miss, throw down.
Now it's the Indians' turn to get in there and steal a couple of bases.
Jason's 16th of the year. 2nd of the inning for the Tribe.
You know, why not? You have a 3-run lead, take off. It was a 2-1 count. He gets it there in a hurry, but he got the good jump, steals the base. 2nd bag of the inning. Bourne stole 3rd base. Then the sacrifice fly by Aviles.
Santana, a foul tip on a pitch that was 100 miles an hour coming in. Tribe leads at 5-2 as we go to the 8th. Cleveland Indians and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians. Late innings are brought to you by Captain Morgan Rum. Raise a glass, always in moderation. Well, it's a 5-2 Indians lead as we work now our way into the 8th inning. David Lowe will lead off for Kansas City. 2 hits tonight, 5 hits in the series. He has certainly made the most of his return home to Northeastern Ohio.
Well, he'll look forward to this trip every time he makes it.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
And as you said, he played college baseball at Mercyhurst, which isn't that far away, and a lot of great Tribe fans in that part of the area, part of the region.
That was always one of our best stops on the press tour for the Indians for years.
Erie, Pennsylvania, the home of Hector's.
Spent many
and the Barber Center, of course, the Barber Institute. Yeah. Pitch inside, almost nailed Low, but he got out of the way. Rolling into Erie, Pennsylvania with Susie Giuliano was like traveling with Princess Diana. I mean, when she stepped off the bus, there were photographers, newspaper reporters, people throwing rose petals.
It was a good stop. Let's put it that way. Everybody enjoyed themselves. Yeah. It was a favorite stop for a lot of different people, including a lot of those people from Erie.
2-2 the count on Low as Brian Shaw, who got the last 2 outs of the 7th inning, stays on to work the 8th. No activity in the Tribe pen. Line to right, a base hit.
This kid has had a nice series.
Let's get the answer to the AT&T trivia question tonight.
Aaron, Brett, Musial, Ripken, Yastrzemski.
Pretty good group of hitters right there. Cody Allen is getting up now in the Tribe bullpen. I didn't ask Terry Francona when I talked to him before the game, but I'm starting to wonder now, Rick, perhaps this is a game where he's going to use Joe Smith in the closer's role. Vinny Pistano, maybe he's down for the day. I'm not sure what his workload's been like lately.
Oh, yeah,
Taylor made. Avila steps on the bag, throws to first. It's a double play.
Boy, did he need that. He thought about going after that ball and wisely just pulled up. Gets the double play. Just what the doctor ordered. Right over his head. He jumped up, took the hands down right to Aviles, over to Reynolds. Double play.
Foul back out of play. Broken bat and a liner to first ends the inning. So Bryant Shaw doing terrific work tonight out of the Tribe's bullpen. 2 scoreless innings, 5-2 Cleveland. Five-2, Indians lead at bottom of the 8th inning. Stay tuned for Indians Live, brought to you by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. It's coming up next. Some of the mystery with regards to the bullpen unfolding. It looks like, as we speculated, Vinny Pistano down for the night. Joe Smith is getting up, so he'll be closing in tonight's ball game. Luke Hochevar, meanwhile, coming on to pitch now for Kansas City. Hochevar for the 20th time this year. He's done a nice job transitioning to the bullpen for Kansas City. This is a guy who was the #1 pick in the draft years ago and just never really blossomed into the starter they thought he was going to be.
Right. I think that pressure of being a starter and looking at, after Greinke was traded, you know, they thought he was going to jump into that #1 role, and it was just, I don't know, if too much pressure. Uh-oh.
There's a long drive to deep right, and it is gone to Souvenir City. Michael Brantley's 2nd home run of the night, and he has busted out of his slump in a big way. 2 home runs. It's his 3rd RBI in the ballgame, and the Indians have extended their lead to 6-2.
Yeah, I mean, how about that? He had 2 home runs all year long. He has 2 tonight, 1 in the 5th, now 1 in the 8th. in this one, and Michael doesn't swing at the first pitch a lot, but he got a fastball down in the zone. He hit the breaking ball the first at bat, fastball this at bat, makes it a 6-2 ball game, and he is having some kind of night. He has driven in half the runs.
Well, and that's the thing about Michael Brantley is that, you know, and Terry Francona will be the first to tell you, he might go and it's rare that he goes 0 for 10, 0 for 11, in this case 0 for 13. But just as quick as he goes through that, he can turn it around and knock out a 13-game hitting streak as well. Pitch misses inside to Reynolds. That Brantley, as you said, Rick, not a guy who swings for the fences, but he got a breaking ball that he just hit hard, and it jetted out of here in the 5th inning on just a line drive swing. And that time, first ball, fastball, he got after it.
Put a nice swing on it.
Down low, 3 balls and a strike. Back out of play. And Reynolds goes down swinging, 1 away in the 8th. As promised earlier, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. And Mark Reynolds with the glove tonight. Fantastic defensively. This was a great play early. Almost got a double play out of this thing. The fact that he got an out at all was amazing. This saved 2 runs.
Yes, it did. There was 2 outs. It robbed Gordon of a hit, and look at it. He's frustrated. Took a double away and 2 RBIs.
And now there's a fly ball to center field that Lorenzo Cain will back up and make the catch on. Ryan Rayburn 0 for 2 on the night. 2 down on the inning. Let's take a look at our Hyundai box score. Brought to you by your Northern Ohio Hyundai dealers. And, well, for the Tribe, it was that big 6th inning. And now they've added a run in the 7th, added a run in the 8th. So
4 straight innings they scored. You know, it was 2-0, and now it's 6-2.
Lonnie Chisenhall 0 for 3 on the night.
Yeah, they started out this ball game 0 for 12, and they have gone 7 for 16 since that point. So once they got it going, they kicked it into gear. And again, they started in their inning, the 5th. And it was Brantley that got them going. As you see Smitty getting loose. With an off day tomorrow, he's up, he's loose. You'll see him.
Second base, bobbled by Elliott Johnson, and an error keeps the inning alive. Pretty routine play for Elliott, but he just didn't come up with it.
See if that ball, he let it track deep on him. You know, didn't get it out in front. And if it took a hop, it got in there on him in a hurry instead of getting it out front. Wasn't pretty much a routine play, but it'll go as an error, first error of the ball game. So it'll extend the inning.
6-2. Indians lead it. Drew Stubbs at the plate with the runner at first and 2 down. Stubbs played a big role in that 6th inning for the Tribe. He led it off with a single off Mendoza. And then Michael Bourne was the beneficiary of Stubbs' speed at first, perhaps unnerving Mendoza. He walked Bourne. I think if he walked him on 4 pitches, if I remember right. Stubbs, liner, left field, and Gordon makes the running catch. That'll end the inning, and we'll go to the 9th. 6-2 Tribe. And Joe Smith on to try and close it out for the Tribe. Joe Smith will be facing Alcides Escobar, Alex Gordon, and Eric Hosmer. He is the third Indians pitcher to work tonight. Justin Masterson, 6 1/3 innings, allowing 2 runs on 9 hits. Brian Shaw, an inning and 2/3, scoreless, 1 hit. And now Joe Smith here in the 9th. He's got the number 9 hitter, then 1 and 2. John McDonald has come into the game defensively for Lonnie Chisenhall at third base. Off day tomorrow for the Indians, and a chance to carry a little momentum into the off day if they can hang on now with a 4-run lead, and a chance to pick up another full game on Detroit in the standings.
They could go to 3.5 games out.
Yeah.
And then win this series, so it would be very good.
And a strike call to Escobar, who is 1 for 3 on the night.
Smitty. Last time he pitched was against Washington on the 15th.
Grounded in the hole. And Aviles will stop it, but no play. So Escobar is aboard with a leadoff infield single. Let's take a look back at our keys to the game from earlier tonight. Well, he pitched like an ace because of how he went about his business tonight. This was not a game where he was cruising along. He had to fight and scratch and claw for everything.
He worked hard, boy.
And this was a tight battle until they blew it open with a 3-run 6th and then added a run in the 7th and in the 8th. The Indians didn't do anything offensively until Michael Brantley got the first hit of the game, a leadoff homer in the 5th. Then they went 1-2-3 right after that homer. But in the 6th, the first 5 reached, 3 scored. They knocked Mendoza out, and then they've added a run against the bullpen in each of the last 2 innings. So it's up to Joe Smith to close it out here. Alex Gordon is 0 for 4 tonight and 0 for 11 in the series. Swung out and missed.
We did show you earlier that Reynolds robbed him of a double with 2 RBIs. So.
A little bit outside, 2-2. Swung out and missed. He struck him out. So Alex Gordon, with just a miserable series here in Cleveland, finishes the game 0 for 5, 0 for 12 in the series. Mentioned that he was the Royals' best player in May, but in June he came into tonight hitting 167, so that's plummeted even further with that 0 for 5 tonight. Now Eric Hosmer fouling one off. He has 2 hits in the ball game tonight. You can see the frustration on the face of Gordon. Outside, ball 1. Oh, a good wicked pitch outside corner. 1-2 the count. That's a pitch where I think a left-handed hitter just gives up on it, thinking there's no way that's coming back over the plate.
Yeah, because from Smitty, you're looking sort of down and away with his sinker, but yeah, he throws that breaking ball. In the last couple of years, he's been tough on left-handers.
Now the 2-2. Outside with it, full count. Payoff pitch. Hit pretty well center field. Bourne racing back. He won't get it. That'll go to the fence. Coming around third. They're going to wave Escobar home, and he will score. And it's now a 6-3 game as Hosmer pulls into second base with an RBI double.
That's 3 hits for him today, and he really hit that ball nice, right on the line. That shot past Bourne in center field, and no problem. Look at that ball down and away. He went down and just smokes it. So the Royals now with 2 hits in the inning makes it a 6-3 ball game.
And Salvador Perez, 0 for 3, now the batter. Chopped slowly towards third. McDonald on the move. Sets, throws. Got him. Coming back to third with the throw. Got him. Double play ends the game. Some slick defensive work by Johnny Mack and Mark Reynolds. And Reynolds with a terrific game defensively tonight as the Indians take 2 of 3 and beat the Kansas City Royals. The Tribe goes over the 500 mark at 36-35, and they close to within 3.5 games of Detroit in the American League Central Division.
Don't understand what he's doing here. You're in scoring position. McDonald makes the easy play. He's going to go from second to third, and Reynolds heads up, and it's even a better play by Aviles to get to third base and gets him easily. You're down by 3 runs. He had no business going there, but you know what? Thank you very much. Indians take it.
Time now for our key play of the game, brought to you by Key Bank.
Well, Michael Brantley, he got it going today for the Indians. At first on a breaking ball to get them on the board with their first hit, and then a little add-on run later in the 8th inning. Well, that is going to be our Key Bank key play of the game, and proud to be the banking home of the Cleveland Indians.
Well, the Indians dropped the opener in the series, but they storm back to win the final two to take the series from Kansas City. We've got some final thoughts right after this.